Well, hello there. Welcome once more to Kwankyewaa's kitchen. And if this is your first time stopping by, I'd like to say a very warm welcome to you. I'm sharing with you the recipe for this absolutely delicious, show-stopping and crowd-pleasing grilled red snapper. So good. You don't necessarily need to use red snapper. You can do this with any fish and it's going to be good. One way to ensure that your fish is very well seasoned before you cook it, whichever way, fry, grill, whatever way you're going to cook it, is to sprinkle some salt on it while it is still frozen and let it sit to thaw. So that is what I've done now. I've sprinkled some salt on one side, flipped them over, and I've sprinkled more salt on the other side and set that aside. I'm going to coat the fish and marinate it with some sauce, and that is what we are going to prepare now. So I have my garlic and ginger, I have some parsley, peppers. These are banana peppers, and one scotch bonnet. The banana peppers have some heat but not very hot, so the scotch bonnet is going to make it spicy. I want this to be spicy. You can make it less spicy if you want. I also have one large red onion and 2 tomatoes. I'm going to start off by chopping my garlic. I don't want to blend this. I want my sauce to have a little bit of chunk to it. Like I said, it's going to be marinade for my fish, and also it's going to be a sauce that you can eat other things with.
Can you smell the aroma?
Now I'll chop up my ginger, onion, peppers and tomatoes and blend these.
Delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious.
This sauce, or gravy as Ghanaians would typically call something like this, is better off with less tomatoes and more peppers. These are going to end up making my sauce spicy, but if you don't want your sauce to be that spicy, you could definitely use some bell peppers, which will just give you the taste and not the heat. This sauce is inspired by a friend of mine. She has this in her fridge all the time. She makes a batch of it, freezes some, leaves some in a jar in her fridge. It goes on everything. She'll put it on her fish to grill. Some turkey wings is so good on turkey wings, and it's the sauce that they'll eat at chicken with. They're Ivorian. So good. Once she has this made in her fridge and she wants to cook anything, just show up at her house at any time and say you want something to eat. She doesn't even need you to say you want something to eat, because once you tell her you're coming, she's going to have something going. And this is so quick. It just makes everything quick. We just season the meats with it, throw it on the grill, and something is ready to eat. So anyway, I'm going to add some parsley to this. So just a little bit of parsley. I'm trying to chop it as fine as I can, and I'll set that aside as well. So all ingredients are prepped now. I'm just going to go ahead and blend these, and then we'll start making the actual sauce. To start the sauce, I'm going to add about 3 tablespoons of extra virgin olive oil to my pot. Let it heat up a little bit and add my garlic. And this I'm going to let cook until it starts to caramelize. Once my garlic is beautifully golden, almost caramelized like this, I'm going to add my blended ingredients. Rinse out my blender and add that in here as well. Stir and let it cook down. It's going to take about 30 minutes on medium heat. Checking on our sauce a little over 20 minutes later. It has thickened. It is really getting there now. It smells so good. Something so simple. Very few ingredients as you just saw me add in here. But it smells amazing. And trust me, this is the marinade that you need in your fridge. The sauce that you need on everything good with rice, gari, couscous, acheke, banku, kenke, whatever you want to have this with. It's so good. So I'm going to add a little bit of Better Than Bouillon in here, about a teaspoon of that. That is going to give it a lot of flavor. And after tasting this, I don't think I want to add any more salt. It is perfect. Remember, this is going to be also a marinade. I would season my meat, whatever I'm going to be putting this on. I'll probably season and set it aside to, work its own thing before I add the sauce. The sauce is just to cover or coat it to grill. So you don't want it to be too salty. I've let it cook a little longer now, an extra about 7 minutes. It has pretty much thickened and it's all done. I'm just going to add my parsley in here at this point, and that I'm not going to let it cook any longer. Just turn off my flame and it will be done. This is how simple this is. Very good, very delicious, and so quick to whip up. I like to let the parsley just be in and then turn off the flame because I want it to retain its beautiful green color. So a pop of green and a little bit more texture. So between the parsley and the chopped garlic, you have some texture in this sauce, which otherwise would have been like puree consistency. And that is it. It's done. I've turned off the flame. Just let this cool off and it will be ready to go on our fish. Instead of grilling the fish outside on the grill, we are going to broil it. And so I'm going to prepare a bed for my fish to lay on, which allows it to just cook. It picks up the flavors of the vegetables it's sitting on. It allows the fish not to stick onto anything, so it's very easy for you to flip it and get your fish cooked without it falling apart. So I've cut up a red onion. I like to use the red onion just for that extra color. And this I'm going to just separate so it's free and loose and just evenly mix up with the other vegetables when I cut them up as well. So the peppers I'm going to slice as well. Cut the ends, get the seeds out, and then I'm going to slice it and add everything together. My bell peppers are beautifully sliced. I'm going to add them to my onions. Such beautiful color. Season with some salt and pepper. And then drizzle a little bit of olive oil on this. Just like that, just a little bit. Toss to get everything very well combined so your seasoning is coated on all these beautiful, gorgeous vegetables, just like so. Is this not just a delight to watch? Just imagine what this is going to do in your mouth. So I have a sheet pan here. I'm just going to pour my vegetables here, spread it all over, and this is what our fish is going to lay on. I'm going to set it aside and we'll work on our fish. So it has thawed beautifully now. You can bet that it is very well seasoned with salt at this point because that salt sat on it. I've cleaned and washed it thoroughly. And now I'm just making sure that it is very dry. So I'm patting it dry with some paper towel, ensuring that the cavity is also dry as well. That way it will be ready for us to start cooking it. I'm going to make some scores or incisions on my fish. Just some thin slices in here. Just like that. Flip it over and do the same to the other side. This is going to ensure that your fish is able to absorb a lot of your marinade or seasoning, because you can apply some into these holes as well. And when it's done cooking, it's just going to taste amazing. I'll set this aside and do the same to this other one, and then we'll go ahead and season the fish. So to season my fish, I'm going to add just a little bit of salt. This is about half a teaspoon. Remember, you thawed it with a generous amount of salt, and even though you've washed it, believe me, you still have a lot of salt on your fish, enough to make it good. So just a little bit to ensure that the outer part especially has a little bit of salt on it as well. I've wrapped this on it, and I'm going to add a little bit of fish seasoning. A little bit of fish seasoning goes a long way in this recipe, so if you do have it, kindly use a little bit. This is just about a teaspoon that I'm just trying to apply. Just very light coating, as you can see, because that sauce is fully loaded as well. It is a marinade on its own, so you really don't need this, but a little bit makes a little difference. Trying to make sure that the cavities and the incisions has it as well. Yes, we don't want to skim on making this fish as flavorful as we can get it to be. Alright, now let's put the icing on the cake. So our sauce is here now. I'm going to apply a generous amount of that onto my fish, just like so. You want to make sure that the fish is very well coated with this, but we are going to start off by applying to one side. So the side that is going to be facing the heat is going to be the one that we are going to coat first. As you can see, I'm opening up the incision so I can get some of the sauce applied in there as well. You don't want to skim on it. This we want to be so flavor packed. We want it to be like the bomb, okay? Just a burst of flavor when you have a bite of it. And that is what I achieved actually. And I know when you try it, you'll be happy. You'll be so happy that you try this recipe. So incisions covered, cavity covered. I'm going to do the same to the other piece, and then we'll go ahead and grill.
Delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious, 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 yeah, delicious. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah, from Kwankyewaa's kitchen, yeah, delicious, yeah, delicious, delicious, yeah, delicious.
Once you're done seasoning the upper part of your fish, you're going to transfer it onto the bed that you've made for it, just like I've done now. And there we have it. I have my broiler on, so that is 500 degrees Fahrenheit on my oven. I'm going to just place my fish right here on the top rack so the broiler can hit it. 10 minutes later, this is how my fish is looking like. So gorgeous, right? But look at me. I tried to flip it with my 2 utensils. It was a little bit tricky, so I'm just going to go ahead and use my hand. It is not extremely hot, at least for me, but please be careful.
Delicious. Delicious.
Once you've flipped it, you're going to apply some more of your sauce onto this other side, which hasn't received any at all, just like this. Also being mindful to make sure that all the incisions are coated and covered with the marinade as well. I'm going to let this go under the broiler for 8 minutes at this time. So 8 minutes later, our fish is looking like this. It is pretty much cooked, but I just want to make sure that the white parts, that is where the incisions are beautifully covered with some more sauce. So I have washed my brush because you remember I coated it, the raw part of the fish with that, so I've washed it, and I have some more stew that I took from my pot. I'm going to apply that just over the incisions on this side, and then just broil it for another 2 minutes so that it will be like 24 minutes. This way, this is going to end up being the presentation side. Our fish is going to look just beautiful when it comes out of the broiler.
Delicious. Delicious. Can you smell the aroma? Yeah. From Kwankyewaa.
Pop this right back in for that 2 minutes, and voila, look at how gorgeous this is. Now we all aware that red snapper is already bougie, so you want to make sure that when you serve it, it looks the part, okay? It has to be very well represented. So onto a beautiful platter it goes. We are going to adorn it with this beautiful veggies that it was sitting on. It has all the juices from the fish as well, and just a delight to eat. You are going to love this. So just look at this. So when you are serving this, you have to make sure that you tell the people who you are going to be giving this to, they have to come very much looking the part, because the fish that they are going to meet at the table is going to be very well dressed, very elegant. Okay, so this calls for very elegant dressing. I made very similar one, and my husband was like, do I need to get dressed to eat this? Of course you need to get dressed to eat this. Just kidding. But look, if you want to be in competition with your fish, well, you have to be. And look at this very simple meal. We just served this with some rice, and of course that sauce is the same sauce we are going to have it with. And yes, it is a banger with whatever you have it with. Thanks so much for watching. I really hope you are able to try this. If this is your first time watching me, my name is Kwankyewaa, and making simple, replicable meals like this is what truly makes my heart happy. And I hope you subscribe to my channel for more of such content. Now kindly give me a thumbs up for this and share this video. And until I come your way next time with something delicious, be loving, be kind, be happy.